Now it looks like we're live. Hopefully. See if we get some audio this time. I did do a test. It seemed to work. Working. 1, 2. Yep, beauty. Right, I should be able to see comments at some point. All right, so we've got 2 cameras. I should be able to switch between them for you. We've got close-up camera and talking headshot. I've already cut 3 corners of this box. As we can see, there's one end. Here's the other end. I haven't actually cut that end. So what we'll do is we'll cut corner number 4. Just going to get that so I can see what you'd say to me when you sledge me. All right, so this is number 4. So I've cut, it's probably very hard to see. This is number 1 and number 2. Yeah, you probably can't see that. But I actually number the corners so that they do match when I put them together. So we've got 1, 2. I finished number 3 earlier, and number 4 is to go. So I haven't marked out number 4 at all. So we're going to do that on camera. We've got our marking gauge. Now what I need to do is I'll just tap this off. Put this out of the way. What I need to do is get number 4 here. And we just mark each one. What we want to do is transfer the thickness of this piece of wood onto here. I'll show you how I do that. Let that bounce. And then essentially that is the thickness of this piece of wood. And I just mark it onto this one. Now my dovetails will not come out perfect. Don't profess to be an expert in cutting dovetails. This is just how I do it. Now we need to set the thickness of this wood and mark it on here. So again, I do the same thing. Now it's probably not so critical because they're roughly the same thickness anyway, but why not do it? Complete mark out to end result. So what we've done, we've now got number 4, and the thickness is marked on each one respectively. Now what I normally do is I work out with a ruler how wide they are, how far apart I want the dovetails, and then mark them accordingly. With this one, all I'm going to do is cheat a little bit because I've already done all of that. And hopefully you can see this. Yep. Just got to make sure that the top is right compared to what I've already done. So we need that to be there because they are offset. I'll show you why in a second. All I want to do on this is just mark approximate location of where I'm going to put each cut. Then I'll put this in the vise to make it easier. I'll actually put the one I'm going to use in the vise. Then I just mark a line, and this is going to be the cut line for the tails. I do tails first. There seems to be some arguments about tails first, pins first. I don't really give a rat's either way, but I do cut the tails first most of the time. I have done pins first. I'm not a big fan of doing it that way. I mean, it does make sense to do pins first. This way, this is just how I've done. Now I'll be using the Paul Sellers method of cutting dovetails. So anyone who's seen his videos will know that it's familiar. All I'm doing here, I'm just marking the line so it shows up when I cut it Now I do cheat. I use this. I can cut them by hand without that. It's just, yeah. This makes it so much easier. So this is a Veritas dovetail guide. It is magnetic. That's the saw I use. And we'll see how that comes into play in a minute. Right, so what I've done, I've marked the ends where I'm going to cut, and just for the sake of it, I'll mark a rough angle so you can see they'll come down there. That's the plan anyway. So I've already cut one today, so it should be interesting. Shouldn't be too much of a hassle. I'll put it quite. All right, sound should be back. It appears to be a USB power saving timeout issue in Windows 10. That's what that is. We got sound now? Should have sound now. There is a delay though. I can see it metering on the screen now. Yep, righto. So what I do, see if I can get the close up in here for you. I'll just move this. Unfortunately, this camera, I may have to get up and turn my sound on and off all the time actually. We'll see. So this is what I do, literally just, it's a magnet. I cut this down till I get to the line. That'll be the line that I've previously marked. Takes a little while because it's a fine tooth saw. Again, this is a Veritas flush cut dovetail saw. I could also use the saw that I restored in another episode because it has no set on the teeth. When we talk about set, if you can see that. I'll get the close up. There we are. You can see some of these teeth are actually a bit bent. When we talk about set on the teeth actually stick out either side. This one has very minimal set, so very good for cutting dovetails. As I said, I can do this by hand, and one day I may do a video, perhaps a live session without the guide, but as I am actually making a box, I don't trust myself to do it unassisted, and I have absolutely no problem with that. You can't see this side, but it's essentially going to be the same thing. So yeah, I don't agree with cutting dovetails with a router and a guide and a jig. I think that's a little bit cheating. Incidentally, when I do cut dovetails without this magnetic guide, I do use a different saw. I don't use that saw. So the thing with cutting by hand is you need to be able to move it backwards and forwards along a plane, and with these saws, unfortunately, yeah, they're a bit. So you can't. They're a bit wobbly. They're not really conducive to cutting without the guide. So. See how we go. This is an informal video. This is obviously not well prepared and what have you. I did say I'd do it, so why not? Now, what we show you progress on that. Missed the line by a little bit, but pretty much on the line. On the rest of them, a little bit there, but quite a bit there, so I'm actually going to fix that. You notice I can do this without the guide. The reason being, the rest of the cut is actually the guide. So I don't really need the magnetic guide on there for this, just to extend the line a little. So here we have tails cut. Just have to cut out the waste. I don't usually use the bandsaw to cut out the waste at all. I use a chisel method. This is actually the chisel method I'm going to use when I show you. Now, this is the saw that I normally would cut dovetails with. Look familiar? It'll be the one I restored. What I've done there is I've cut up to the line. You probably can't tell because of the focus, but the line is still there, and I've just cut shy of the line. I'll chisel that out. Oop. That's all we need that for. Put that back. All right. Now this is where the Paul Sellers technique comes into play. See if I can't get this a bit closer in for you. There we go. Paul Sellers, he's a wonderful man. He's British. He has I'm going to have to keep doing that. I'm going to have to keep getting up, unplugging the audio device and plugging it back in again. Fantastic. I'll sort that out next time. It's definitely some Windows 10 USB thing. I think it goes to sleep. Turns off the power to it or something. Oh, it can't be that either, I don't know. As I can see it metering on the device. Who knows? It's my problem. Whatever. Alright, so I've enhanced those lines. This is where the actual cutting work happens. Now, I'm going to try and get it so you can see what I'm doing, but we'll see. Yeah, just keep telling me when the sound cuts out, and I'll keep going and fixing it. What I'm doing is I'm choking right up on the chisel so it doesn't slip. And if it does actually happen to slip, it can only slip so far as to where my fingers are. So what I've done is enhance that knife wall. I don't want to put the chisel in there just yet, because if I do, if I put that chisel in there now, what will happen is it'll push this wall back a little bit. So we just want to take the timber out. Might move this back around. There we go. It's a bit further away, but at least you can see what I'm doing. So a lot of people will cut dovetails by cutting the waste with either a coping saw or a band saw. I don't do that. This is literally how I do it. Every time. I do like to use a dead blow hammer too. These have got shot in them that, whether you can hear that or not, makes it hit a little bit harder. Now I'm not tapping too hard here, I'm just increasing the depth of the line, making the knife wall more prominent. Make sure I'm right in that wall. And again, the same thing. We put it in the vise for safety, just because it's not going to slip. Because if we get into that practice, it's a lot safer in the long run. Okay, so that knife wall is getting quite deep now, which is what we want. I can start hammering at it with a chisel. It's a lot of stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. So that's quite a hard hit now. Put this in nice and tight. And actually cut the waste out. Now this does take quite a long time to do it this way, but compared to cutting it out and chiseling it square. But if you're in a hurry to cut dovetails, choose a different joint. There's really, these days, with the glues that we've got, they're a decorative thing. They're more of a someone who wants to use the dovetail technique. These days they really don't have any bearing on the strength of the joint. Just go check that sound again. No, it's still going, that's good. That's all it's about. Cut the waste out with a chisel. Put our walls in. I'll figure I'm out here cutting this anyway. I'm just making a box. I may as well put the camera on. There we go. Okay. And we've broken through. Okay, fantastic. Just put in the vise. And if we can get the close up, see if I can. Probably not. There we go. That is about as close as I can get it, I think. That's about it. All right. Okay, now we just have to clean this up. It's going to be interesting. I've got no room. Move this out the way. See, it needs a little bit of cleanup. We don't want to bust through the other side at all. Okay, so that's the inside of the box because I've marked the outside. Now we'll clean up the inside, the outside of it. The part that will be seen. This doesn't matter so much if we bust through, we just want to make it nice and flat. And it looks like it will be. I did actually sharpen these chisels this morning, so nice and sharp. So there's that. That's the waste cut out. Probably should clean that up a little. I'll put it down so you can actually see it. This is not a slow process, not at all. Now, I'll try not to get in the way of the camera here. All I've done is put the chisel into this knife line that I created earlier, and then it does move. Tighten it up a little bit. There we go. Just check that it did actually hit the line. It did. Very good. I like that. Nice. Almost perfect. Anyone would have thought I'd have practiced this on the other three. And this one will be the same. Again, nice and tight. This is not easy work either. Anyone who thinks this easy has never done it. Now, I'm not hitting that too hard, just enough to pare away the waste while making sure that I'm square. See, there's just a tiny bit left that we need to get rid of. Let's see if I can do that this way. Very difficult with the camera in the way, I can tell you. Very light taps, just so nothing slips. All this is very sharp, everything. You really don't want to slip. Has to be sharp. If it's not sharp, wasting your time. Simple as that. There we go. It's a nice, pristine 90-degree line. Fantastic. What we'll do is just clean this up a little. It's not quite 90 degrees. And again, choke up on the chisel so if it slips, it doesn't dig you a hole in your finger. Now we're going to mark the pins. Might just leave the camera there so you can see. Yeah. So if the sound had cut out, it should be back on. So yeah, I mean, don't use a pencil here. Oh, use a knife. Light pass. The last thing you want is for the line to move. So if the piece of wood that you're tracing around moves, your line will be off. So we're just taking very light passes. And we'll go back, redo them. Yeah, someone does it on the bandsaw. Oh, bandsaws would be much quicker. Well, look, if you're in a hurry, I say don't do a dovetail. I think dovetails, the reason there's this big thing about them is because they require quite a bit of craftsmanship and have traditionally been done by hand. So the guys who do them by hand, I don't know if you can see that on camera. Oh, you can. That's perfect. Traditionally, the guys that do them by hand are like, oh yeah, I cut dovetails by hand. Well, okay. That's how I do them too. I don't often do dovetails in like casework if I'm building a chest of drawers. The last chest of drawers I built has one drawer. There was 10 drawers in it, and it has one drawer that has a dovetail. So this is where the magic happens. This cut the tails last time with the angle that way. What we do now is take this out. Now the hand tool purist will actually say that using this thing is cheating. I need that light on again. And of course you can't see what's going on now. No, you can't. Oh, maybe you can. No, I'll turn that off for you. Okay, that's heaps better. Okay, I can't see it, but you can, so that's fine. What we need is this to be, this is the waste we're cutting out. So we actually need this to be inside that line that we cut. So we just sneak right up on it, as close as possible, and that's it. So yeah, technically that's cheating, I guess. If I was going to cut this freehand, I would be essentially doing the same thing, but without the guide. So I'd still be cutting on the inside of the waist. I'll try and go a bit faster. But yes, you could use a bandsaw, or you could do the whole router and router jig thing. That'd work just fine. It's just not something I'm that keen on. I can't see that line at all. That's a bit better. Now these dovetails will not turn out perfect. Do not get me wrong. I don't expect that will fit together with no gaps or anything like that, but I will post a picture on Facebook at some point. Now I'm not really putting any pressure on this, so if I slip, I slip. It's not likely to do me any damage. So let's cut down to the line. A bit further. So, wow. So, if you think this is not hard work, it's very hard work. I set that camera up because I was sitting down, but here we go. Back to you not being able to see a thing. I might move the camera around here so you can actually see it. We'll try that. Hopefully it doesn't disconnect. There we go. So you can see that line, or maybe you can't. There is a line there, and the saw is on the inside of the line. Yeah, 5mm tolerance, Andrew, that's right, 5mm tolerance. 5mm tolerance for dovetails. Certainly the way I cut them. Now this little jig, it's about 40-50 bucks or something. I haven't actually looked in recent times. When I got it, I think it was like 40 bucks, 45. And it's fantastic. The hand tool purists hate them because they're like, oh, you should learn the proper techniques and whatever. Yeah, I agree. And yes, I can use a handsaw and cut dovetails without this. I just prefer to use it because they're more repeatable. I obviously don't do this for a living. It's just a hobby, so I really don't care what other people say, to be honest. we go. All right, so I can change the sound if it keeps cutting out to something else, but whatever. It's probably better if you can't hear it anyway. There's going to be a lot of banging in this part. So all I'm doing is I'm putting the knife in the knife line. And reinforcing that line. Progressively harder strokes on the knife. So the cut is progressively deeper. Same thing on this side. This is the line we marked with the gauge earlier. Now the good thing about me cutting dovetails is when I'm finished I just plane all the sides down and flush it all up and it comes up nice. Thanks Beck, first troll, nice, yeah. That's Andrew. Andrew's my carpenter friend who's he's gone to school to learn this stuff. Next time he's in Sydney, I'll get him to do a guest appearance. It's worth 100 points. Yes, the achievement goes to me. Now all I'm doing is lightly tapping this just to get the knife wall square. So realistically, all you need to do this is a chisel, hammer, saw guide, knife, and that. They're the only real parts. Everything else is sort of just helps. You don't even need the pencil. Righto. I need to move it closer to this side, don't I? This is where all the banging happens because the workbench leg is over here, so it's most solid in this area. So this is where all of the hard hitting on the chisels happens. Now I've always said if you need to bash the daylights out of a chisel, you're doing it wrong, and that's still to some extent true with dovetail cutting. You really do need to get the waste out of there. So now all we're doing is enhancing the line again. I'm not really tapping too hard on this. And I guess this would be considered the boss fight. If it was a game, this is like the final step. Take out this waste. So I'll have another achievement at the end of this, I guess, even though I've done it 3 times already on the other corners. There we go. That's better. Right in that knife line. Maybe not. See if we can't get right up to that. There we go, it just popped into the knife line. That's what we want. And then just a quick tap deepens the wall. I went outside the cut line a little bit there. But again, these are just considered to be a craftsman type joint. They're, you know, I don't know. It's all a bit, if I was going to make a box, and and I wanted it to look pretty, actually I can do this now sitting down, then yeah, I'd use dovetail joints. But if I was going to put a drawer, I'd probably just use reinforced rabbets. Much easier to cut. If I was making one drawer, maybe dovetails, as I said before. Did a chest of drawers with 10 of them. So I'll bring my phone closer so you can see. So you're going to get Andrew in one of my videos in his flannel and footy shorts, apparently. This is different. Normally I can't respond to Facebook comments, but this time I can actually see them, which is good. Now, a lot of people were going to say, oh, you shouldn't sit there with the chisel close to your nuts. Yeah, that's funny. And ordinarily I would agree, but there's really no chance of slipping. You can see what I'm doing here is I actually rest my wrist up against the vise, and it just can't slip out. So I'm pretty comfortable that I'm not going to have any injuries. And I'm not actually building the daylights out of it either, so it's pretty safe. Always a trial. And of course it'd have to be Beck. And this is just a rinse and repeat scenario now. Make sure it's up against the lifeline. There we go. I'm not using my legs as the vise. No. There we go. Again, if you're in a hurry, I would expect don't use dovetails. Or cut them with a machine, whatever. But one thing to note, when we cut this here, sorry, I'll be a bit closer to this side. You can see that that's on an angle, so I should really start cutting that down at an angle too. I'm all for power tools, you know, I love the power tools. It's just this is a traditional joint. So at the expense of sounding like a really bad pilot I knew once, this is romance woodworking. Gerald will know what I'm talking about. Romance woodworking, that's what we call it. There we go. I'll just give these a little bit harder hit. Live on the edge. Let me know if the sound drops out again. If I had a sound guy, he'd be able to sort that for me, but I don't. I don't have a sound guy. It'd be too hard, too much to ask for, you know, someone with, what, 17 followers to have a dedicated sound guy? Is that too much to ask? If only Brett was here. Always romancing my wood. Yep, touche. That serves me right. Romancing my wood. Filthy people, honestly. It's a woodworking show. It's a different kind of wood, Beck. Don't know what you were expecting with Wouldn't You Know It, but I suspect you're looking in the wrong place. All right, here we go. Only have to do this once more or twice more. I'm actually giving this a good, you know what? Here you go, Becca. I'm giving my wood a good bang. Have a field day with that one. Giving it a good bang. Actually giving it quite a hard hit. I'm tapping it. Tapping it hard. Really want to make the knife wall deep. Gotta have that deep penetration of the chisel. Yes, I'm doing it on purpose now. Here we go. Back in the vise. My properly professional Brett managed live sessions will go straight to YouTube from now on, not on here. And if I end up with enough bandwidth, I'll just do it on both places for the time being. This will work. If you guys watch it on YouTube, it's better for me, that's all. It's just Facebook's easier to watch it on. So I thought I'll do this informal one. This is just me here with a couple of webcams, my recording microphone, and that's it. No professionalism in the production whatsoever. I can do that and talk to you, and you can still see what I'm doing. Now I have to be worried that when I'm cutting this, my tongue's in the right angle, because that's what it's all about. You go, if your tongue's not at the right angle, you'll bugger the cut up. Now, the reason I keep cleaning this is because if you get little wood chips on the bench, they can damage the underside. So I always try and make sure it's flat when I'm cutting. I do have a screen so I can sort of see what's going on. I don't want you watching me anymore. There we go. Another reason I like to do the live stream on YouTube is because on Facebook I can't use the theme song. Because every time I try and use it on Facebook, it blocks the video from a copyright, and it's definitely not copyrighted. So any time I go live, it stops the live session. So all right, we can see that's probably just over halfway down. All right, sound's back. There you go. Sound's back. Should be back. Okay, this needs to go a bit more of an angle. Yeah, you can't really see that. Just leave me a comment and let me know that the sound is back. See now, if I didn't have the ability to see comments like I do today, I wouldn't know that there's no sound. There we go. Done. All right, let's move this back. Thank you for that. There we can see, this is so annoying. There we go. See, there's a little part here that didn't break off. I'm going to use my other chisel, my little one. Just give it a light tap. You see I'm choked right up on it. All it did was just knock that high spot off. Same here. Just a light tap. So all I'm doing now is just cleaning out the waste area. I've got 5 people watching. Seriously, who watches these things? I know I do, but thanks. I appreciate it. It's good. Even if you just jump on to make fun of me, fantastic. It's awesome. I mean, it's not like 150 like Shannon Rogers gets. And all he does is talk about his wood and he walks around his backyard. No, not quite. He actually works in a timber yard and did a live session from the timber yard so people could ask questions about timber. And I'm saying timber now so that people don't keep saying I'm talking about my wood. Thanks, Beck. Awesome. Champion. All right. There we have the pins cut. So these look like pins and these look like tails. Tails, pins. All right, that's enough. I'm not going to show you how it fits together. No, I will. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I have no idea how this will go together. We'll see. So number 4 is on the outside. This is the may need finessing. Again, at the start I said I'm not a dovetail expert, but we'll see. Oh, I think I've done a good job. Perhaps I have. Now this is either going to split badly. Yeah, let's not do that. I'll show you a trick. Now this is a lot of people disagree vehemently about this, and I don't, and I'll go into why if it works. Just relieving the inside corner. So you can see on the inside corner only, the part you don't see, and I know it's the inside corner because number 4 on the outside. So on the inside corners I've just taken a smidge off. Now if I get number 4, again, this one, I can do the same thing. Perhaps I need to clean this off too. I'll do that first. You can see it was rubbing a little bit just there. So if we just follow that down, and that's rubbing on the outside corner, which we don't want. That's the part you see. So that may leave a gap, it may not. We'll see. It feels okay. Jam it in there. Alright, Eads, I'm going to jam it in there. I'll jam it in. What I'll do first on the inside corner, just here, just relieve that just a little. What we do is we stay away from the edge. So this is the edge that we don't want to be near. Here we have, you can actually feel it when you just put it on, you just feel it. All right, lift this up, see if I can't get decent angle, because I haven't seen this go together yet either. And we're just tapping. All right. Now, obviously, with clamps and glue, these will close up the gaps. I'm pretty happy with that. Bit of focus. Very happy with that. Not bad by hand. Yep. There's a tiny little gap here, and needs to be clamped. I am reasonably happy with that. So what I might do, I might get number 3. Number 3. We'll see how this box goes together. Of course, we've got to match up number 2 and number 1. Just move that back around here because we don't need quite as narrow a shot. Lift that up a bit. There we go. Look at that. Fantastic dovetail box. Obviously not finished, but that's it. I'm happy with that. I'll sit down. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. That's how I cut a dovetail. That's how I've done them for a while now. I used to cut them out with this. So there's the coping saw. So what I would normally do is cut out the waste on the pins and the waste on the dovetail part with the coping saw rather than chisel it. I find that method's not as great. I don't think it's as tidy. I don't think it's as accurate. And yeah, certainly not as fun. So that's it. Basically a hammer, 2 chisels, a knife, a square, a saw, and the all-important marking gauge. So that's it. I've had enough. You've seen me cut a dovetail. That's all there is to it. A box made with wood. Yes. You might get this box, Eads, if you like it that much. Once it's finished, we'll see. I don't know, I haven't finished it yet. The plan is, what I do is I get this. So that's actually three pieces, milled, glued together. It'll become the lid once I cut it down to size. It'll have a nice hinged lid on it. It'll have a plywood base. That's why it's not glued together, because I've actually got to cut a recess for the base just inside, and then there'll be a skirt around the outside on the bottom there. That's why, if you look closely, you can see that that pin is much thinner than that pin. Yep. So yeah, that's about twice as wide as this one. So what will happen is there'll be a skirt comes around the bottom, about 5 mil, something like that. Anyway, you'll see it when it's done. Oh, brisket or ribs? Very much so. All right, that's quite a workout. You wouldn't think, but that's like sweating like a pig. All right, I've had enough. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and give me the big thumbs up. Thanks a lot.